All right, hey everybody. Welcome to Flesh and Blood Unseals. I am your host, Chris, and tonight we have with us Kurt Toth. Kurt, welcome to Flesh and Blood Unseals.
Happy to be here, Chris. Appreciate it, man.
Yeah, so we're gonna do a little deck tech. This is deck tech video number 2. We last week we had Tariq Patel, the U.S. Nats winner. And this week, hopefully we have the answer to his deck on, right?
Absolutely, man.
All right.
Gotta wake everyone up a little bit.
Let's do it. All right, so here we go. Let's hop right into it. I've got up here a list, and this is Bravo. So, Kurt, Bravo? What? Why? What's going on?
I know. Bravo, people are sleeping. So I tell you what, man, Bravo has just been so consistent for so long, and I can't find a reason to get off of it yet. So I run it consistently, whether it be Blitz or Classic Constructed. And I'm sure everyone will look at me like I'm insane for making those decisions. But although I've taken a couple weeks off from the game, prior to that, I think for the last 3 months when I was playing, I mean, win rate was up 96% ish, whether it be Blitz or CC.
That's solid. What was the ratio of Blitz to CC in that?
They would heavily skew towards Blitz for sure. That's sort of where I grew up in the game on Blitz. But there's certainly a fair share of CC in there too, including some Road to Nats, etc. So
Okay.
it's a punishing deck, but I build it differently than most Bravo decks, and I certainly run it differently. So it's a little different twist. Those that have played me, I think, are accustomed to it. So we can go through card by card if you want. Jump
But
in anywhere you want, Chris, and tell me to elaborate or shut up or slow
any
down, whatever you want.
any way you like. I like to start with the stats here and kind of see if there's anything interesting sticking out.
Yeah, so pretty basic here with red pitch going with 17 reds. Obviously, like to be aggressive. This is definitely an aggro build, but not the typical aggro build that you'll see coming out of New Zealand or the US variation of it. Yellow is pretty high, 18. I can't stand playing Prism as Bravo, so the yellow is really just to focus on kicking library off the table if it ever shows up for all those Prism lovers. So it's high intentionally for that reason, but in most matchups, obviously, I'm not running that many yellows. We'll go into that a bit.
Gotcha. So that's a lot
Blue,
of sideboard.
it's a lot of sideboard, a lot of
Okay.
sideboard. And the blue pitch 37, I like running between 60 and 65% blues. Dealing with Bravo, 36 puts you right at that sweet spot. I threw an extra one in there just for kicks if want to be crazy. But so 37 blues, pretty standard, I think, for Bravo. But you'll see there's some interesting flavor in there to a degree.
Okay.
But the key is, I think, the way that we build the aggro style. Where do you want to go from here, Chris?
Let's so this is an aggro Bravo, you say?
Oh, there's nothing control about this build.
Interesting. Gosh, I don't even know where to start then. So I'm kind of familiar with the control build Guardian in general, with Oldhim and whatnot, right? You're basically turtling up and swinging for 4 every turn. I imagine this is not that deck.
I'll tell you what. If I used to tell everyone I play, man, if I swing with my hammer at any point in the game, I'm unhappy. I'm doing something wrong.
Oh,
This is
okay.
built so I don't ever swing the hammer. If I do, it means I have an off turn and I'm miserable about it. And I will let my opponent know that I'm displeased with my performance.
Okay. So the weapon,
The
not a
weapon's there
big
for show, man.
fair. So you could stick anything else in there and you wouldn't care.
Generally speaking, though, I do have to obviously swing it at times. I'm just not happy about it, Chris.
Sure. Okay. Okay. Fair. So
The equipment. You want to go with equipment first?
yeah. So what equipment's good for a guardian in general, or for an aggro guardian, I suppose.
This is where I'm going to lose some viewers immediately, Chris. People are going to be like, "This guy is insane." Here's the thing. You see Skullcap in there.
Mm-hmm.
Generally speaking, I don't run it, and most people I think do. I love some Helm of Eisen's Peak because I'm
Hmm.
a maniac, Chris. I run it because if I win the dice roll, I am playing this card and I'm going first, and I am popping Helm on turn 0 every single time. I don't care if it's CC, I don't care if it's Blitz. I'm popping that card on turn 0 if I'm going first. I will generally not attack unless I can guarantee push damage on some dominated Spinal Crush or something.
Mm-hmm.
Otherwise, I am arsenaling a card, popping that, and I'm starting out the game with 6 cards. And I don't care what my opponent does on turn 1. I'm probably not going to block them, and I'm going to rip their face off on turn 2 and hopefully keep momentum. This card alone has won me, I don't even know. However many Blitz tournaments I've won, it's because of that card.
I can see how that would be a massive momentum taker when you just show up with a 6 card hand. It's just a matter of what your opponent comes up with on that first turn, like how big of a smash to the face can they give you, I guess.
Yeah, and I mean, unless you're going to threaten lethal on turn 1 in Blitz, I'm probably not going to block it. Or I'm going to block it with equipment, and I'm going to keep my 6 card. And it's going to be ugly. And as we go through the build, I'm going to revisit this card to show you how potent it can be. A lot of people used to say, Kurt, I don't know how you always have an amazing hand on turn 2. How does it always happen? And it's all probabilities, man. I'm a schooled individual, so I know my numbers. But and you'll see as we go through the deck, there's basically a 96% chance I'm going to get something that's going to really piss you off on turn 2.
Nice.
Make the game unpleasant.
Nice.
So I'm running Helm in most matchups. If I lose the roll and someone else chooses to go first, there might be an instance I switch to Skullcap. But even then, in Blitz, I generally stick with the Helm for a tempo change.
That's
CCM. Oh, good.
That's something I wasn't aware of. Do you actually get to choose equipment after you know who's going to go first?
Yeah. Yep.
Wow.
Huge,
okay.
Huge deal.
That seems really important to know, and I did not know that. So maybe somebody else just learned that too. Okay.
Possibly.
Cool.
So in Blitz, I'll always play Helm. 0 exceptions. In CC, I might rotate in Skullcap. Sometimes in the mirror, sometimes against one of those nasty Rune Blade players. And I'm sure we'll visit throughout this discussion.
Mm-hmm.
But otherwise, Helm, I don't know, man. It just sticks with me. Just part of the build.
Seems
Crater
like it.
Fist, pretty straightforward. Blocks for 2. I don't think I've ever been in a situation where I've actually used its ability. Maybe once or twice, just for kicks. But generally, I'll get the full 3 block out of it and just send it on its way to the graveyard. But that's important because I, Chris, hate blocking. You will learn that throughout this conversation. People have made memes about me that throughout the game, I just say no blocks.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't even care what you do. Just no
You don't like
blocks.
that card disadvantage.
No, just keep my 4-card hand, no blocks.
Okay.
So Crater Fist allows me to say that repeatedly, and people get more annoyed with me. Mage Master Boots, beautiful card, comfy little slippers right there. Love it for Tome of Fyendel. In Blitz, so dirty, Chris. I run 2 copies of Tome, which again, I'm sure people are going to look cross-eyed at me. I run 2 copies even in Blitz of Tome because I want to hit it. I want to hit it early, and I want to have a massive turn. So again, the deck is built to just continuously apply pressure. I will gain life, and I will rip cards out of your hand and hopefully win the game. But Mage Masters is a key piece. Nullrune Hood is just if I want to pretend like I want to block some arcane damage. So it's out there more of as a decoy, and obviously if you're going to just continue throwing Rune Chance at me, then I'll use it.
Mm-hmm.
Tectonic Plating, obviously critical to create surge tokens and block. Time Skipper's in there for our good friend Prism. And if I was going to a tournament where I expected Kano to show up, I would throw 3 additional Nullrune in here to run the full set of 4 Nullrune. Currently, I don't expect a lot of Kano around.
Well, he just won in Italy, Nats. I'm
It's true.
I'm hoping to see
You
more
have to.
Kano. I mean, anything to shake up the meta, but yeah.
Oh, for sure. Yeah. In Blitz, obviously, I'm coming with 4 Null. I'm gonna make Kano's life more difficult than he would like it to be. So,
Mhm.
but that's the build. Time Skippers again in there for Prism. Although recently I've been running Mage Master against Prism for the life gain. I actually work on a fatigue strategy. It's the only time I turtle up is against Prism, Chris. It's the one exception. So I will try to block out Prism, just fatigue him, and then hopefully just swing the hammer and murder his or her face. But
Mm.
uh, that's the equipment. Pretty straightforward. The weapon again, just the single Anathos there, the mini hammer.
Mhm.
If I do expect Kano, I will run Sledge um, because it's a beautiful thing. Obviously, not with if you're not running tectonic plating, which you don't against Kano, then you run Sledge. You swing for 6 every turn. I also run the full complement of pummels, as you'll see. So pummeling the 6 swing hammer against Kano, also very unpleasant. So those are the exceptions to the build that I would work in
Mm.
if I see Kano around.
Yeah, that's a brutal one right there.
Yeah. Yeah. So into the main build, Command and Conquer, MVP type card right here, Chris.
Mhm.
This thing, I mean, we all know CNC, but CNC with a pummel is just the dirtiest combination I think in the game. I don't know. I don't know what beats it
Mm.
because every single turn, what I try to do, Chris, I run all 9 pummels. By the way, I don't think you're going to find many people running 9 pummels because it's just insane. I
9
run all
pummels.
9
All
pummels.
the attack reactions. Okay.
Red, yellow, blue. If they had a different color, I'd run that too. So it's just pummel for days.
Nice.
And if I throw a CNC at you, I will always have 2 floating. And I will always make you wonder if a pummel is coming. You can't play defense reactions to it. I will likely strip a card from your hand. I will also take your arsenal, and it's just going to be unpleasant.
Yeah, yeah.
So
Pummel is
it
such a
is
like that can just.
difficult.
I mean, especially on top of the Command and Conquer, it's just going to completely change the direction of the game, right? Like,
Absolutely.
oh man.
Because those people that say no blocks, right? They obviously just want to keep their hand.
Yeah.
The beauty of pummel is you're not allowing it.
Mm-hmm.
It's like I'm not going to let you keep your arsenal. I'm not going to let you keep the card in your hand. Like I'm going to push damage. You're going to hate every aspect of this combination. And the
Yep.
best part is, Chris, those people that have played me enough and know it's coming, it's so it's so horrific to play around anyway, right? Even if you know I have the pummel, like what do you do with it? You're
Right.
gonna fully block it out, and then I'm just not gonna use the pummel, and I'm gonna arsenal it, and the pummel's coming next turn, right? It's or you're gonna block enough to encourage the pummel to come, but not fully block it out, so it's still gonna hit you. You're still gonna lose a card, still lose an arsenal. Like any way you look at it, it's unpleasant.
Right.
It's just very difficult to play around.
Yeah, it's like you're telling them how they get to play as opposed to them deciding how to play.
100%.
Yeah.
100%.
Yeah.
Crippling Crush. I don't think anything needs to be said here. Um, if you're playing Bravo, not running that card, then just quit the game, I guess. Mangle. I throw one copy in there for the quote unquote new meta, I guess. I do like it in some matchups. I do like it in the mirror match, threatening to take off tectonic plating, threatening to take off. I mean, whatever the case might be, grasp for any of the rune bait players. It's intriguing. I don't love this card, so I run one copy of it occasionally, but it's certainly a sideboard card. It's definitely not part of the main build.
Fair.
3 pummels, red. Chris, I'm going to say it 20 times. I don't care if we talk for 5 more minutes. 20 more times. Pummel is the MVP. And I know if Kale watches this, he's going to look at me and be like, 9 pummels is a bit excessive. 9 pummels is a thing of beauty, Chris. Thing of beauty. I'll tell you some stories about it in a little bit. But again, in my opinion, one of the most vicious cards. I will never pummel the hammer unless I'm doing it to kill you. Right?
Mm.
Because I do it for the discard, to your point. I do it for the card advantage. So this is why I don't like swinging hammer. I will pummel you if you are Kano when I swing my sledge. If you are not Kano, I'm generally not going to pummel the hammer unless you just choose not to. If I have to swing it and you just choose not to block it, I have nothing better to do. I want to push 10 damage just for fun. So there are some exceptions, but generally speaking, I'm going to hold all my pummels for attack action cards.
So why the difference with Kano?
With Kano, I'm generally just swinging the sledge every turn. I'm going to pitch 2 blues. I'm going to swing the sledge and float 2. So I'm going to threaten pummel every turn. I'm going to hold 2 cards back in case he tries to do his stupid dance. And then I'm going to block down with my 2 remaining cards with my 4 null rune that I have.
Mm-hmm.
And he's still going to face 6 to 10 damage to the face, right, if I have an arsenal. But I always keep 2 cards in hand if I can against Kano and just present 6 damage every time. There are, again, exceptions. If I think I can sneak something else in there, CNC is obviously a good exception.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, that's the strategy against Kano. I'm just going to block everything you do, and I'm going to swing for 6 every turn until you get really, really bored. But eventually you will die.
Gotcha.
Yep. Sigils, I do run 3 of them. I love gaining life while making everyone else lose life. It's a pretty fun dynamic. So
pretty
I do have those
straightforward.
in there. I do run them against everyone.
So you got three sigils and you've got 2 tomes as well.
That's right.
Yeah, nice. And like you
3
said, you're hoping to
Spinal
pop that tome early, right?
I do. I mean, now in Blitz, like I said, I just need to get to it, which is why I run 2 copies. In CC, I don't really care when I get to it, but I do want to see it. In the event that someone command and conquers it out of my hand, which generally I'm not going to allow them to do it, but if they do, that's why the second copy is in there as well. Right? When they get super hyped about you got rid of your tome, it's like another one's coming, bud. So look out. Spinal Crush, 3 copies, of course. Just a vicious card against anyone, right? But especially the Rune Blade, the Briar lovers of the world, the Chain lovers of the world, Ira, Katsu. I mean, you name it. Anyone, just most people that like to go wide obviously hate Spinal Crush. And of course, a very easy card to pummel because it costs 5. So if I pitch 2 blues and I have a surge token left over from last turn, you're already looking at a Spinal Crush with a pummel coming. So if I pitch 3 cards, then you're looking at a dominated Spinal Crush with a pummel coming. So again, it's just really gross to try to play around it. Once you see the first yellow pummel and you say, wow, this guy Kurt is crazy enough to run yellow pummels, he's running the full gauntlet, then every card I present just becomes that much more intimidating, right? And like I said, I will float 2 every turn. I will bluff your face off. But you will always wonder if I have a pummel, and it just makes the game mildly unpleasant.
You're playing a different level of game there, right? You're bringing poker into it a little bit. Like it's bluffing, and it's all about like, what do I have? And
Absolutely.
you're making the player, your opponent, think about a lot more than their own hand.
Yeah, it's why, and we'll get to it later, I'm sure, when you upset me and bring up Briar or Chain or something, right? But those players, the reason why I like playing certain decks is they don't present any cards that threaten my hand, right? And if you leave me the ability to strategize with whatever cards I have, if it's 2 cards, 3 cards, 4 cards, but I know that these are going to stay in my hand, I can strategize enough to determine whether I'm going to block you, whether I'm going to block, or how I'm going to block and return fire, whatever the case might be. But the threat of a pummel, like you said, of I don't know how you're going to disrupt my hand. I don't know if you're going to double pummel me, right? If I'm threatening in that position with 2 floating and 2 cards in hand, or 3 cards in hand, or whatever the case might be, and double pummel, like it's very difficult when I play people who run a similar build. And I know the build inside and out. And it's just very difficult. Like you said, that mental warfare. It's tricky.
Yeah.
The other thing you'll notice here, I think, that will differ from 98% of Bravo builds is I do not run Sink Below, and I do not run Fate Foreseen, which I consider to be I think Bravo staples, if you look at any deck on FabDB or
Hmm.
any deck I've ever seen in Bravo, has Sink Below and Faithful Scene. I'm probably one of the few Bravo players that don't run it. I only run Staunch Response and Blue Unmovable. And I do it because if I run more red defense reactions, I cannot be as aggressive. I cannot say no block because now the probability that I draw one of those crap red sink belows to blow my dominated attack with pummel possibilities goes up. It just ruins the hands.
Hmm.
So I don't like it. My play style doesn't support those two cards in it, so I don't run them. And the staunch response only comes in against Dory and the Bravo Mirror, and that's it. And let me tell you what, Dory really hates staunch response. And I run one red. I run all 3 copies of yellow and 3 copies of blue, as well as 3 blue unmovables. So when you're looking at the mirror match, again, if I throw a staunch response in Arsenal against Bravo, I don't care what you're doing, right? As long as I keep a card or two back, and I don't care if you come with a dominated crippling crush, right? I can still cover it up with staunch response. Um, Dory's the same way. I don't care what you're attacking for. I can actually say no blocks and see what you choose to do on defense reactions, and then I just double pump a staunch response, and she's going to be pretty annoyed.
Yeah.
Um, so Dory is actually almost a buy for me at this point. In the Bravo Mirror, generally speaking, probably the Kale's excluded. I haven't had the pleasure of playing Kale, but there's some good Bravo players out there. But for the majority, the Bravo Mirror has become pretty straightforward as well. The thing with the Bravo Mirror is most people are pitching for the end game, right? They pull a crippling crush and like, I'm going to pitch this and I'm going to come back later. Like, you're never going to see that card again. You're never going to see it again.
Against an aggro Bravo, yeah.
That's right. The first time I see someone pitch a crippling crush, I already know the game is won. That's generally how it turns out. There are some surprises, and people need to adjust mid game. Some people do that really well, and we might cycle through. But at that point, generally speaking, the damage has been done, and there's just no way to recover from it.
Hmm.
But to your point, a lot of the advantage of this build is most people want, to your point, see Bravo and they say, you're gonna turtle up and you're gonna hammer my face off, right?
Mm-hmm.
You're gonna pitch for endgame. You're gonna, I don't know, maybe you are gonna pummel here and there, but or maybe you're gonna go aggro and you're gonna go zealous belting or rouse the ancients, but nobody is really off the jump expecting 9 pummels unless they've played me and they say there's that jerk Kurt.
Oh, here comes Pummel Guy.
Yeah. We just meet off the street, like it should take you by surprise.
Yeah, yeah. Like in a field of Bravos, most of them are not going to be running a deck anything like that, probably.
That's right.
Yeah. And how is that? How is it that you have a deck that doesn't look like anybody else's? Did you like not go on FabDB and just go copy everybody else? I mean, like what's your process?
Definitely not a FabDB guy. I put it in there as a courtesy to you. So
Thank you.
Yeah, no problem. I like looking at the physical cards, man. I play with them, and then I jump in some online events, local armories, wherever the case might be, and I just run it through the gauntlet. Literally, I used to play in the Monday Night Gauntlet, and there's some beast players in there. Back in the day, I mean, it was all blitz, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so you're running up into Ira just all day long and Kano, and you have to have a fine-tuned deck to try to compete with the Iras of the world, right? And try to just flick flack your face off and block, for 48 each turn, and then swing back for 48 as well. It's bizarre, but so I just built and I just refined and got to the point where I would literally have a 40 card deck for blitz, and I would take out one card and I would try a new card and I would play test it for 10 games. And I just make a determination of whether I want it in there or not. I put in another card. And my buddy and I, Rich Cook, man, we would talk deck tech for weeks and weeks, hours on hours, and just over a single card. And it got to the point where it's just so well tuned that I would just take my physical deck, I'd draw 4 off the top, and I would just say, I'm not. I don't care what you have. This 4 cards will beat you. And I go through my whole deck. I draw 10 times, 4 cards. Just look how vicious it could be.
Hmm.
Lay it down. And the deck got so finely tuned that every hand I drew was just pure fire, and I went with it.
Sick.
But I do it, and I do look at the meta. I don't look at FabDB, but I obviously look at the meta, and I think about all the people that are flocking, that word chosen intentionally, flocking towards whatever the deck of the week is, the deck of the
Yeah.
month, and I found that this still stands the test of time, Chris. I also found that some people, it's very weird. Some people really like playing the best deck just to say they played the best deck. I actually know people who went to nationals and they're like, I was on Briar and Briar was the winning deck. They're like, I'm just happy I was on the right hero.
That
What does that
okay.
even mean?
That
Right?
doesn't.
Like,
Yeah.
great.
Hmm.
So you played the best.
I
as the
chose.
best
I chose
hero.
right. Or
Yeah,
I chose well, but I played like shit,
mentality
so it
is-
wasn't me.
that's right. It's a mind-boggling mentality because, I mean, what I loved about the Vegas calling is everyone would have said, those same people would have said, I was on the right deck as Chain, right? No, Chain lost, right? There's
Mhm.
one guy that beat the meta with Prism and actually just wiped the floor with Chain, right? Just, I mean, it didn't even stand a chance. Tyler just absolutely massacred him with the build.
Yeah, it was like
I
7 times or something. He
Yeah,
mashed up against Chain.
yeah. And it's like, man, that's not a fluke, right? You're
Yeah.
just absolutely murdering them. And that's the key. I think people get mixed up with data. They love data, right? Oh, the data says 80% Briars and 90% conversion rate. But nobody is trying a different deck to smash it. And there are decks that can actually smash it.
Mhm.
No one, I don't know, man. No one just has the willingness to go out on a limb and be like, I think this breaks the meta. I don't know. It's very bizarre to me, Chris, the
Yeah.
whole thing.
I mean,
We could spend 48 minutes talking about that. 48 is my word of the day. You notice that? Iris tacking for 48 minutes we can talk about this.
I think I mean Oldham won what two callings, right? So I mean
Yeah.
it's not all Briar, but it I don't know. There's a lot more to the meta than the 2 or 3 or 4 heroes that we've really mentioned here so far. There's a lot of other heroes that are unsung so far, and I'm just waiting for the right person to pick that hero up and say, "Hey, hold my beer."
Yeah,
You know?
absolutely. My buddy Rich, I told you that he and I usually strategize. He played recently in a number of events. He said he went back through his records. In the last 50 games he played, he said 35 of them were against Runeblades.
Oh, jeez.
33 Briars, 1 Chain, 1 Viserai, and 15 other.
But there are 3 Runeblades in the meta, there are 3 Runeblade heroes, right? So there's more Runeblades than any other type of hero. So
33 Briars, man, out of 50 matches.
Briars,
insane.
yeah.
33 Briars. But again, this particular deck, whether it be Blitz or CC, that I've run into the Nationals winning deck, has a very high conversion rate. Now, I don't know if that's the players. Again, I haven't had the pleasure of playing Tarek. He's probably laughing hysterically, as he's watching this. He's like, I'll wipe the floor with this guy. But it's very interesting because it's just a lot of, like I said, a lot of people just aren't aware of what this deck can do. And it's not just this deck. I mean, Dory can beat Briar. A lot of decks can beat Briar, and people just aren't willing to step out on a limb as much as maybe they should. But I'm getting off topic.
It's all good. It's all good. It's all about how you built your deck, your deck, right? And
Yes.
your
I built
ethos
it
is
to
part of that.
upset the meta.
So, yeah.
Period. When I was playing all those blitz tournaments, it was just Iris everywhere, right? Ira mirror matches for days, and to your point, I was just upset by it. I was like, this is trash. I cannot have this. So I pummeled all the Iras out, and then by the end of it, there started to be all these Bravos playing blitz just in these tournaments, right?
Mm-hmm.
So you can change the meta, I think, quite easily. You just have to put in the time, and you have to think creatively. creatively, right?
Yeah.
Can't speak.
It's it's
And
it's
net
just
decking is not my style.
yeah. It's just such early days for Flesh and Blood overall, I think. I mean, we're four main sets in plus crew, right? So, um, and then we got Everfest coming, and then I don't even we don't know anything about the next main set after that. So, there's no new heroes coming in Everfest. So we've got 21, I think, heroes total now. I think that's including young and old. Um, and it's I feel like it's still a fairly small pool, and Everfest is not going to add to the number of heroes, but it is going to add to the number of cards available for each hero. So it should be pretty interesting to see what happens.
Yeah, I agree. I think there was a Facebook post on this, right, that I commented on at one point that yeah, because the game is so new, every set is going to shift the meta more violently than it will a few years from now.
Hmm.
So I think there will be some swings. I do think no matter what comes in the next set, there will continue to be a swing away from the Briars of the world. But right now, I think people are stuck on it.
Like, what do you think the chances are that there will be one or more cards in Everfest that you'll want for this deck that you'll get into this deck somehow?
Pretty high,
Pretty high.
pretty high. I think every set that's been released, I've put cards into the deck.
Hmm.
So I don't expect that to really change, especially since James White and LSS said there will be support for every hero, whether that be generic or whether it be Guardian specific. There are always cards. I mean, even like Exude Confidence used to be in this deck, right?
Hmm.
I will make, I will work things in. I do work in different things based on the particular meta I expect to face. I used to run E strikes in here. I will switch it up in different events based on who I know is going to be there. But I do think the new set will bring new cards, new support for this. I mean, even the last one. I mean, Terra Sunder coming out of that set is just so
Yeah.
violently upsetting, right? To and necessary for any Bravo deck. So
Yeah, that card, every time I see it, I'm just like, damn.
it's so dirty,
Yeah,
so dirty.
yeah. Just bust that out, and you're gonna add a pummel onto this too, right? So,
100%. Why wouldn't I?
yeah.
um,
Oh boy.
yeah. So jumping back in, we've got to the yellows.
Yeah.
I do run choke slams. Choke slam is one of my favorite cards. I think this one's a bit atypical. I think in Bravo builds as well for the most part, but I like it because it's a 4 cost. So I judge every card's value based on a 4 card hand, Chris. And
Hmm.
if I can pull off a pummel with a 4 card hand, then that card's probably going in the deck. So if I pitch 2 blues, I've got 6 floating, 4 is going on choke slam, 2 float, and that 4th card is going to be a pummel. The hit effect is also extremely relevant. So when you're looking at anyone trying to pump their attack actions, think plunder run, things like that.
Hmm.
Um, just devastating, right? So the chains of the world, to a degree, the Briars of the world, anyone running any of those pump spells from Tails are not going to want to be hit by Chokeslam. Again, throw a pummel on top of it. You're not going to want to have discard a card. So when you're looking at a yellow Chokeslam and a red pummel, you're looking at 11 damage coming to your face with a relevant hit effect on a 4 card hand. So if you look at if I have a pummel and arsenal, whatever the case might be, then this becomes dominated and then pummeled as well. So again, all of these attacks, generally speaking, if I can, I will dominate it and pummel it. There are some instances where I won't dominate just because I want the other person to block to a degree.
Hmm.
If I don't have the best hand, I may not dominate a certain guardian attack and pummel to shake their hand, and hopefully I get a better hand the next turn. So, but choke slam I take all day over the next card, which is disable. I only run 1 copy of disable. And off the top of my head, I'm not even sure who I would run it against these days. And the reason being, again, is the 5 cost.
Hmm.
Because I run a 4 card hand, so a lot of people will say, well, disable works if you have a surge token, Kurt, right? Pitch 6 plus a surge is disable, and you can still pummel it. But take the hand we just went through. I have a 4 card hand. with the choke slam. I pitch 2 blues, I play choke slam, 2 floating, and I pummel it. I don't have a surge token in that scenario.
Right.
So in the next hand, if I were to draw a disable without a surge token, I can't pummel it. I just don't like that. I don't like the feeling of not floating 2, Chris. So that's why I don't like running disable, even though it has an extremely relevant crush effect. I've also found it's pretty easy to dodge this one, right? I mean, even though it's coming for 8, a lot of people will throw a 2-card block if I don't have a pummel, and the hit effect just isn't as relevant. They still have 2 cards, or maybe 3 if they have an arsenal, and they just go about their business. So I don't love it as much as I think other people are married to it.
Gotcha.
Here they are, the beauties. 3 more yellow pummels. Pause here just for effect. So beautiful. I've literally had people shout into their microphones when I play yellow pummel, Chris. Like, yellow pummel. And they just
what are you doing?
What are you doing? You maniac. 1 remembrance, obviously only relevant for CC, but extremely necessary. I will call back. I don't just call back crippling crushes or spinals. I will call back command and conquer very often. I don't even care if it's, again, because I don't expect to get through my deck, and I don't expect my opponent to. If I get this card early, I will still use it, and I will pull back 2 CNCs and, I don't know, a random card, chokeslam. I don't care what it is, but I will use it. I will pull more fire back into the deck. I'm pretty sure it was 1 guy I played that I pummeled CNC 6 times against. It's not fun. Not fun. So that's enjoyable, especially relevant in the mirror match, right? If you pull back a CNC because the mirror is going to run a ton of defense reactions, anyone who's playing Bravo who has their head on straight is running defense reactions, right? So the CNC almost becomes one of the most relevant cards in the deck. So Righteous Cleansing, I do have 2 in there. Again, this is to aid against Prism. Also, I'll work it in just if I don't like my opponent. If they're wearing the wrong color shoes that day or something. I mean, just look at the art. Right? It's just vicious. So I'll throw that in just because it looks like a violent card.
Right.
So is what it is. I don't work it in all the time. The 3 staunches, again, only come in the mirror against Dory. Otherwise, they stay on the sideline.
Fair.
2 tomes, play all the time. Love this guy. I have the playmat too. It used to be my playmat of choice. To let everyone know, a tome is coming. Still didn't matter most of the time. 3 Zealous Belting. I do like it. I do run the yellows, not the reds. Again, people are going to look at me and be like, this guy's an absolute moron. But I run the yellow again for Prism, the extra yellow. And frankly, the 4 attack, I find easier to get off and activate this card than I do the red one. And I don't like the red pitch. Like I said, I like to keep my reds at a minimum. So yellow is the way to go here. And I only work this in again against Prism and also in the dash matchup. Based on my mood, again, I don't have a specific sideboard strategy in the mirror. It's really based on my mood. I'll size up the opponent again. Look at whether they're wearing sweatpants or jeans and just determine if they're going to be control or aggro. I don't know, just guess. And I might work in a Zealous Belting or 2 just for fun. But again, more look and feel as far as that sounds. Then you go into the boring stuff. Bunch of blues, Buckling Blow. If I attack you with Buckling Blow, I've lost my mind. Again, this is really just there for 50 block.
Yep.
Blue Choke Slam. I will attack with this if I have to. Blue Cranial Crush. Again, generally speaking, this is just for pitch and block. Debilitate, same thing. Disable, same thing. Blue Pummels, love them. Pause for effect again. Pursuit of Knowledge. I used to run 3 of these, Chris. Another stupid card, right? 2 costs. All the Bravo players of the world would be like, why are you running a 2-cost blue to not activate hammer? And then I'd remind them, I don't swing my hammer, so I don't care if it costs 2. But Pursuit of Knowledge is one of those cards that people just don't want to let hit. I don't care who you are, right? But me threatening a 5-card hand, just extremely unpleasant. And then, oh, by the way, you can pummel it? Come on.
Right. Just another something for you to pummel.
I threatened, played a Pursuit of Knowledge with 2 float with a card in hand, and I've won a Carrion Husk off of this card
Oh
more
man.
than once. Right? People would just throw the kitchen sink at trying to block this thing because they don't want any part of it.
Hmm.
Um, so I used to run 3 copies. I took it out because I did work in some thumps, another card people will disagree with. Terra Sunder also took obviously some spots after Tails was released,
Yeah.
but I really like this card. I still run 2 copies of this in Blitz. I'll likely up this to 2 or 3 in CC just for fun. There just won't be a day where somebody lets this hit and it works out well for them. So,
Fair.
Rouse the Ancients, fan favorite. Obviously, a beautiful Monarch card here, and really brutal to get this off. Imagine pulling this again on my turn 0 example. If I arsenal this on turn 0, pop Helm, I've got a 6-card hand. It could get ugly. Better yet, what if it's on a tome turn? I draw 2 extra cards, right, off the tome. I mean, it's possible to do a Rouse into a Crippling Crush. I've done it more than once, and it's a vicious turn. A lot of people don't like blocking the first one in the event that they know what's coming, obviously because I'm revealing 2 cards off this.
Mm-hmm.
I generally don't like to reveal the card I'm attacking with, but sometimes I don't have a choice. So they try to save their blocks for the last one. Sometimes I'll choose not to even attack a second time, and I'll just pummel the Rouse, right? So it's incredible the flexibility of this card to attack for 7, to pummel it. You got 11 attack, even if you don't come behind it with another swing. So you can really throw people off on, again, sort of dictate the way they play. And a lot of times they can't choose the right path, right? If you don't block it and I have a pummel, it's going to hurt.
Mm-hmm.
If you do block it, I'm going to come with a second swing. So real hard to play around that card. Showtime, another beautiful thing, especially if I pull that turn 0. This is the one exception to me not popping Helm is if I pull Showtime on turn 0, then I will just play Showtime. It has the same effect as Helm. I'll play it. I will arsenal a card. I'll pass my turn. I'll create a Surge before it. So I'll create a Surge, play Showtime, arsenal, and then the next turn I'm drawing a card off it. So I'm still going to have a 6-card hand, and it's still going to be extremely unpleasant.
Mm-hmm.
So, and obviously I will fetch a Crippling Crush, so you know what's coming on that turn. The Blue Staunch does play in every matchup. Again, love it.
It's got the pitch, it's got the defense.
Yeah, got the pitch, and again, the 2 costs not relevant for the hammer because I don't care. Terra Sunder, not much to be said here. So I suppose this is the exception. There are many times I will Terra Sunder a hammer, because why not swing the hammer dominated for 7 with the threat of discarding 2, and then pummeling it. Right?
It's pretty nasty.
Yeah, pretty nasty. So yeah, I will hammer on Terra Sunder. If I can Terra Sunder something else, I will. But generally speaking, the hammer is probably the best play. And pummeling it's just icing on top. Thump. So much controversy on this card, especially the blue pitch. I know people like red, and I know people like yellow, and some people don't like Thump at all. But given my play style, again, I'm not pumping it on the front end. I'm not. This is relying on pummel, so I don't care about the dominate aspect of it. Again, this just plays into the mind games. I'm going to play Thump, or I'm going to pitch for it or block with it, right? So it's relevant for those 2 purposes if I don't want to play it. But if I do draw it, again, it's a 4 cost. It's just like the Chokeslam. So if I have a 4-card hand, I pitch 2 blues, run out a Thump, and see if you want to block or over block or not. Again, if you over block it, I'm not going to pummel you. It's a hard card to work around. The 9 pummels are the key to the deck, and the Blitz version, the 6 pummels are the key to the deck. And when you see it, it makes. I mean, a lot of people told me, Kurt, I'll just keep blocking, right? I don't care if you float 2. It's like, well, I'm gonna float 2 all game. If you block, over block every turn, you're definitely gonna run out of cards before I do.
Yeah, so, you're gonna run out of resources long before Kurt does. Bye-bye.
Bad math.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's a difficult deck to play around. And back to what I earlier said about people wondering how on turn 2 I always have a solid hand. You think about what cards I want to see on turn 0 if I'm going first, right? I'd love to see a pummel, obviously. There's 9 of them. I'd love to see a command and conquer, right? Because by the time you get a turn, you might be arsenaling a card and CNC becomes relevant on my turn 2. I'd love to see crippling crush. So that's 3 CNCs, 3 crippling crush. We're up to 6 cards, plus the 9 pummels, that's 15. I'd love to see a sigil of solace on turn 0, right? Free card, just lay down and I draw back up. Best card to see turn 0. So there's 3 more of those. Now we're up to 18 cards. I don't mind seeing on turn 0. Keep going down. We've got Showtime. Love to see those. That's 21 cards. Tear Asunder's nice. 24 cards. And Tome. Amazing turn 0. Imagine popping Helm and arsenaling Tome. So now I have 5 cards. I don't block your attack. I run out Tome, and now I have a 7-card hand. It's going to get real nasty.
Mm-hmm.
So there are about 29 cards that I would like to see on turn 0. If you throw that into a card draw calculator, right,
You're looking pretty good at, yeah.
There's a 92.5% chance, give or take, that I'm going to draw one of those cards in turn 0. And when I pop Helm and I draw 2 more cards, now goes up to 96% chance I'm going to see one of those. Pretty gross odds. So when people are like, how do you always have a relevant card? It's like, well, if I don't have one, then super unlucky. And yeah, you might get the time where you've got 2 pummels and things don't work out, right? But again, it's just the way you play it. Those people who also said, I have a reputation for no blocking, and all the memes floating around Facebook, with me no blocking quotes. I do block, and I do it strategically, right? And the reason why it always looks like I have a good hand is because I will strategically block. I'll throw my whole hand sometimes. It's a trash hand, but the next time I swing at you, it's going to be violent. And they're going to be like, how do you always have a good hand? It's like, I just threw my whole hand blocking yours, right? With all my shit cards.
Mm-hmm.
But they don't remember those, right? It's only the crippling crush, and then you blocked me out, and then you pummeled a crippling crush. And it's like, how do you always get a crippling crush?
Yeah.
But it's a tough deck to play against, and I do believe even meta Briar, Kano, Dory, pick your flavor. They got a real tough matchup here. Real tough matchup.
Awesome. Do you think we'll see this deck in the next round of official tournaments in the U.S.?
With me piloting, yes. With anyone else piloting, I don't think so, Chris. Because so many people they can't get off Kale's build. I'm not saying that's a bad thing. Kale's a stud.
It's a good build.
He's a stud. But they can't get away from FabDB, right?
Mm-hmm.
They can't break the monotony of a Bravo build. And it's like, this is what Bravo should be, right? And even if they want to dip their toe in, it's like, no, I'll go aggro, right? I'll put Zealous Belts in there and Rouse the Ancients. It's like, that's not my style of aggro, right? I have that, but there's that extra spice. And the card advantage and disruption is just too much to ignore. And I think people just aren't examining the limited card pool that Flesh and Blood has today. I don't think they look hard enough at it, right? Again, Pursuit of Knowledge is a perfect example. You run that card out, and everyone I've played takes a second glance at it, right? Some people even have to read it. Experienced players will flip that card around on the table and read it. And they're like, who's running Pursuit of Knowledge? Nobody is, right?
Yeah.
But if you don't block that, again, it's going to be very, very painful the next turn. But I don't know who's running Pursuit of Knowledge in their decks. I don't know of anybody that is, Chris, right?
Yeah.
But it's a very difficult card to play against. I don't think all Bravos play CNC, right? The staple card for Flesh and Blood, to some degree.
Mm-hmm.
the defense reaction killer, which anyone who plays against Bravo, as we touched on earlier, is running at least 10, right? Double digit defense reactions. And you're just nullifying that with a CNC. But even the people that do run CNCs are running that out, and it's so easy to block, Chris, right? Someone will just be like, fine, I'll throw 2 cards out and block your CNC and keep my arsenal.
Mm-hmm.
Pummel is the game changer.
Right
I've
over the
yet to
top every
figure out why
time.
people are adverse to running 9 pummels. I don't think you're going to see it, but I'll tell you what. Anyone who watching this video, I I would love for you to try it, and I would bet as you get comfortable with saying no blocks or blocking when you should and learning that dynamic, because it is kind of tricky, right? You definitely have to put hours into how to pilot this deck. But when you get that down and you know when to block and you know when not to block, I think Briar falls. I think
This
the
this
rest of
feels
them are.
like it was a really good tutorial on how to build that deck and how to run that deck. So I hope somebody tries it. I hope somebody picks it up and gives it a try, and maybe you'll run into your mirror at the next big event, huh?
It's possible. I definitely have seen my build in my meta. I
Hmm.
will say that. Right? There's only so many times you can get pummeled in the face before you don't try it yourself.
So you've changed some hearts and minds.
I have, but they get frustrated with it, Chris. Right? Just like any deck, because it's not as easy to pilot. No disrespect to the Briar and Chains of the world. It's not as easy to pilot, right? Because
Yeah.
you do have to be decisive with when you block and how you block and what you block with. Whereas Briar, you have a bunch of zero cost cards, and it doesn't matter the way you run them out. It's like just run out these 4 in a row, whatever.
Yeah, that's one of the things Tarek and I talked about was like with Briar, there's probably a million different ways that you can play the cards out because they're all zero cost. And like, I mean, knowing which way to do it, I mean, I think there's some nuance there, right? So I am definitely like I'm in the camp that there's some Briar players that are better than others for sure.
100%.
But
100%.
I think that's one of the beauties of Briar is that it just leaves that door open for people to kind of play that angle. But yeah, I would love to see the matchup for sure.
We should put on a show for you one time.
That'd be fun.
Unseals duel. We'll call out a Briar player and we'll just have some fun with it.
You know, if we can figure out a good setup for the video and everything, and get a good commentator out here, not me, somebody who actually knows the game better, then yeah, I can sit back and talk to the commentator and like ask questions that sound half intelligent. And
There you go.
yeah. Well, Kurt, man, this has been like I said, this was just an absolute school on Agro Bravo. Like, thank you.
Yeah, absolutely.
I hope that through this video, I hope somebody finds this and says, "Oh, shit, I can do this. I can go break the meta." And I mean, it's almost like a net decking thing, kind of, but not quite, right?
That's right. And the beauty of it, like I said, is no matter what matchup I go in, I do spice it up, right? I will throw Exude Confidence in. I'll throw E-Strike in. I like to keep people on their toes, and I do think a lot of people do get comfortable with their decks, and they settle in, and it just becomes routine.
I was gonna
Um,
ask about why E-Strike wasn't in there, but I figured we were going long. I'd leave it alone, but
yeah, I mean, I take it. I just took it out actually just recently, for a number of reasons. I won't bore you with it, but it was very relevant against Prism. I used to really love that card to get into the Prism matchup,
hmm.
as well as so many others. But unpredictability, I think, wins the day. If I know what another opponent is doing or is capable of, my odds just went up of
Hmm.
winning. Right.
Yep.
Just to your point, there is a poker element in it. Um, there's understanding the other heroes and what their card base is and what their play style is and understanding the player. It's very important to know that I've said in the previous videos, I play the player more than the hero. I judge how you're going to run out your deck, and I will adjust my style accordingly. And I think that's what a lot of people struggle with the deck, right? Is the deck's not going to win on its own,
Hmm.
right? This isn't Briar in that way, right? So
Right.
Tarek is amazing for building that deck because someone can pick that up and just really ruin someone's day with it. That's not this build. You have to really understand, I think, what you're doing. But if you don't fall in the trap of just playing the same way, right? If you keep it fresh, the reason why I can win tournaments, the same tournaments repeatedly against the same people, is I switch it up. I give them different looks, and it's not just with the cards; it's with play style. So it's very important to try to do that. And I think a lot of Flesh and Blood players not only flock to the deck, they flock to a similar play style.
Hmm.
And I would advise people that are trying to excel in the game to migrate away from that to the degree possible. Right? Be
Yeah.
creative in your play style, keep your lines different and fresh, whether it be from game to game or within the game, and certainly throughout the course of a tournament. I just think you're going to get better results that way.
Great advice. Great advice. Well, Kurt, thank you very much for your time, man. This has been awesome.
Yeah, you're the man. I appreciate you having me on.
Yeah, we'll have to do this again sometime after you take this deck down to, Colleen, and we'll do a little post-mortem and see how it went.
I regret not getting on a plane for the Callings and Nationals for this reason, right? So
Yeah,
hopefully we can make a name for the deck at some point.
there'll be another opportunity. So
There you go.
awesome, man. All right. Well, Kurt, take care.
Yeah, you take care of yourself as well.
All right.
Have a good one out here.